How to eat when the world is ended. The supermarkets are stripped to the bones, the freezers are warm, and the only thing standing between you and starvation is whatever's left in a dusty cabinet you haven't opened since 2019. No power, no cold chain, no delivery window, no app. Just you, a shelf, and the question nobody teaches you in school. Which foods actually last forever and which ones are just lying to you? Because here's the thing nobody tells you, and this is the part that will genuinely change how you think about food storage forever. Most of what you've been told about expiration dates is a legal fiction, a liability shield, a number printed by lawyers, not chemists. The real science of food longevity is older than refrigerators, older than electricity, older than the concept of a grocery store. Civilizations survived for thousands of years without a single kilowatt of power. They knew something we forgot. Today, we're remembering it. 12 foods, 0 refrigeration, indefinite shelf life. Let's go. Food number 1, ghee, butter that learned to survive. Regular butter goes rancid in weeks. The culprit? Milk solids, water, oxidation. Your butter turns into a chemistry experiment with a smell that announces itself from 3 rooms away. Ghee removes those problems entirely. Heat butter slowly, the water evaporates, the milk solids separate. You skim them off. What's left is pure butterfat. No water, no proteins, no lactose. Chemically stable, hostile to microbial growth. 1 to 2 years at room temperature, indefinitely in a cool, dark place. 120 calories per tablespoon, high smoke point, perfect for open fire cooking. Richer flavor than anything else in your survival pantry. Make it with unsalted butter, low heat, patience, and a cheesecloth. Seal it. Done. You just made a food that outlasts your problems. Food number 2, pemmican. 3,500 calories per pound, invented by people who couldn't afford to be wrong. Before protein bars existed, indigenous peoples of North America had already solved portable, calorie-dense, long-lasting food. Pemmican, arguably the most nutritionally complete survival food ever developed by any culture, anywhere. Dried lean meat pounded to powder, rendered fat, pure, no water. Combined equal parts by weight, dried berries for carbohydrates and vitamin C, packed and sealed. The fat coats every meat particle, blocking oxygen. No moisture means no bacteria. No bacteria means it lasts 1 to 5 years without refrigeration, longer in cold conditions. Arctic explorers carried it. Fur traders lived on it for months. Modern version, beef jerky in a food processor, beef tallow or coconut oil, dried cranberries. It won't taste like a meal. It'll taste like staying alive, which in context is better. Food number 3, hardtack, the cracker that survived the Civil War and will survive you. Civil War soldiers called it tooth dullers and sheet iron crackers. They ate it anyway because it didn't go bad, and when you're marching through Virginia in July with no supply line, you eat what doesn't kill you. Flour, water, salt. No fat, no sugar, no leavening, nothing that spoils. Baked bone dry, it becomes nearly indestructible. There's documented hardtack from 150 years ago that was still technically edible. Nobody was enthusiastic about confirming that, but the point stands. 2 cups flour, ½ teaspoon salt, ½ cup water. Stiff dough, roll flat, cut squares, punch holes with a nail. Bake 375 degrees for 30 minutes per side. Cool completely. Seal with a desiccant. Tastes like cardboard with regrets. Soak it in broth, fry it in ghee, crumble it into soup. Almost palatable. In a world where palatability is a luxury, almost palatable is a victory. Food number 4, raw honey, the immortal amber. Archaeologists found honey in 3,000-year-old Egyptian tombs, still edible, not technically edible if desperate, actually edible. Low moisture, high acidity, natural hydrogen peroxide, sugar concentration so extreme bacteria physically cannot survive. No water activity, no microbial growth, no rot. Your honey outlives your grandchildren. One enemy, moisture. One drop in an unsealed jar starts fermentation, which makes mead, which in a post-apocalyptic scenario is arguably also useful, but that's a different video. Sealed, dark, dry. The jar does the rest. Food number 5, salt, the original preservation technology. Salt doesn't expire. It's a mineral. It existed before life on this planet and will exist after. The only change over time, it clumps if it absorbs moisture. Fix, sealed container, grain of rice inside. Done. The survival angle most people miss is salt isn't just food. Salt is why other food lasts. Osmosis pulls moisture out of meat, creating an environment bacteria can't reproduce in. Every cured meat, every fermented vegetable, every preserved fish in human history exists because someone rubbed salt on something. In a grid-down scenario, salt is currency, medicine, and the difference between eating fresh-killed meat for 1 day versus 3 weeks. Stock more than you think you need, then double it.
Let's continue with food number 6, white rice, the boring hero. Nobody's excited about white rice, but white rice will be sitting perfectly intact on a shelf while everything else in your pantry has turned to dust and regret. The milling process that removes bran and germ, the one that makes nutritionists sigh, also removes the oils that cause rancidity. Brown rice goes bad in 6 to 12 months. White rice in a sealed Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber lasts 25 to 30 years. Seal it with a hair straightener if that's what you have. Survival is not glamorous. The oxygen absorber is the step most people skip. It's also the most important one. Remove oxygen and you've paused time inside that bag. Food number 7, dried beans, protein that refuses to die. Heavy, slow to cook, require water you might not have, cause gas at a time when social cohesion is already fragile, and yet calorie-dense, protein-rich, indefinitely storable. Moisture below 10% means enzymatic activity stops, microbial growth stops, oxidation crawls. The bean enters suspended animation. After 8 to 10 years, proteins begin to denature, and rehydration takes longer, but they're still safe. You have fire, you have a pot, cook 'em longer, problem solved. Stock variety. Black beans, lentils, chickpeas, kidney beans. Nutritional diversity matters when your diet is otherwise aggressively beige. Food number 8, distilled white vinegar, the liquid that eats bacteria for breakfast. Acetic acid diluted in water. Acidity so low that bacterial cellular machinery simply stops working. They don't explode, they just fail to exist. Indefinite shelf life. The bottle might cloud slightly over time. Harmless sediment. The vinegar itself doesn't change. Triple duty in survival. Food preservative for vegetables and proteins, disinfectant when soap is gone, and flavor in a diet that is otherwise aggressively monotonous. A gallon costs almost nothing. Stock several. Food number 9, freeze-dried food. NASA invented it. The apocalypse perfected it. Freeze-drying pulls moisture down to 1 to 4% by sublimating ice directly to vapor in a vacuum. No moisture means no bacteria, no decay, no compromise. 97% of original nutrition preserved versus canned foods 40 to 60% after the same period. Shelf life, 25 to 30 years in sealed Mylar with oxygen absorbers. Loses 98% of water weight, so a full day of calories fits in a backpack. One catch, needs water to reconstitute. Solvable. Everything else, nutrition, shelf life, portability, already solved. Stock variety. Those pouches are waiting patiently for 25 years, or until tomorrow, whichever comes first. Food number 10, sugar, the sweet antimicrobial. Same principle as salt, osmotic pressure. High dissolved particle concentration pulls water out of any microbial cell that tries to establish itself. The cell dehydrates, dies. The sugar remains, indifferent and eternal. Pure white sugar never expires. It hardens if it absorbs humidity. Break it with a hammer, still fine. Beyond sweetener, it's fast calories, a preservative for foraged fruit jams, and a wound treatment. High-concentration sugar applied to wounds creates an osmotic environment hostile to bacterial infection, a technique used clinically before antibiotics and still used today. Stock it in bulk. Food number 11, instant coffee, because civilization requires caffeine. Less about nutrition, more about survival psychology, which is equally important and dramatically underrated. Freeze-drying removes virtually all moisture while preserving caffeine and flavor compounds. Sealed container, 20 to 25 years. The caffeine doesn't degrade, the flavor does. Decade-old instant coffee descends toward hot brown water with ambitions, but it wakes you up. It signals that the day has started and there are things to do. In a prolonged survival situation, that neurochemical signal is not trivial. Morale is a survival resource. Caffeine is a morale resource. Food number 12, distilled spirits, the last line of defense. High-proof spirits above 40% ABV don't expire. Alcohol creates an environment chemically hostile to microbial life. Flavor changes over time in open bottles. The alcohol doesn't. In survival context, spirits are working harder than most people account for. Wound disinfectant when medical supplies are gone, barter currency, solvent for herbal tinctures, fire accelerant in wet conditions, and, in carefully measured doses, acute stress management when civilization is reorganizing itself into something unrecognizable. Stock it not because you plan to drink your way through the apocalypse. Stock it because survival is a multidimensional problem, and you're solving for all the dimensions. Every single food on this list was developed by people who didn't have the option of failure, not preppers with Amazon wish lists, people for whom winter was a deadline and preparation was the only answer. We inherited that knowledge. We stopped using it because the supermarket made it feel unnecessary. The supermarket is not permanent. The grid is not permanent. Infrastructure fails in hurricanes, wars, collapses, pandemics, and the thousand smaller disasters that don't make international news but absolutely destroy the lives of the people inside them. These 12 foods are permanent. Stock them, seal them, store them dark, dry, and cool. Forget about them. The best outcome is that you never need them, but if you do, they'll be there. That's the whole point.